Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Folks, on today's show, should we concern ourselves with the weeds of a stock's PE ratio? And what even is that? We'll discuss that a little later on. It is also Winning Wednesday today on this Wednesday. Great to be here with you. I'm Seth Udinsky, and here is your host, Mark Manila.
Welcome, everyone. Glad you're with us today.
Excited to be here, Mark. You know, looking at the pre-markets, Mark, it might be, we were just talking in the break there, it might be a buying day. We'll have to see.
But, it could be.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, listen, give us a call, 610-363-1110. Join the live broadcast today. We'd love to hear from you. We've got a lot to discuss today, so let's, Mark, get right to it here. Just a reminder, again, you can join us at financialissues.org/watch every day. Join our live chat there and make sure to say hello. All right, Mark, let's jump in. So the Trump accounts are officially active. They became active this past weekend to celebrate the 250th birthday of our nation. Mark, just give us your take here on the good, the bad, the ugly of these new investment accounts, particularly for children.
Well, the good is that I love the idea. The whole idea is that capitalism at its best, when it cares about those who tried and fail or who haven't had the opportunity. And that's what the Trump accounts do. They set somebody up right off the bat so that somewhere in their future life, and when they become a young man or a young woman, they have the ability to either pay for their schooling, start a business, or do something with that money that could be a very good use to them, even defer it all the way to retirement and have a nice retirement because of what the government or the citizens of this world, including the capitalists who pretty much are funding this way above what anybody thought is happening. So it's a good thing. I guess everybody's heard about the Trump accounts. That's where when a new baby is born, a new American is born, the government itself puts $1,000 into the account, and that's up until 2028. Hopefully they'll codify it in Congress and keep it going after that. But then you can put up to $5,000 as parents or relatives, or even gifts from churches and other areas, businesses. You can put up to $5,000 a year into these accounts for these children, and they act just like an IRA does. So it's a wonderful thing in that it prepares children. It gets them involved in the market. There might even be a market. It might even affect the market sometime in the future, in the next couple of years. Maybe it could steady them, but because this would be pretty much stable money that's not moving much from one area to another. And that brings us to the investment side of it, which is the sad side, because right now, as wonderful as these accounts are, and as cool as it is that people like the president of SpaceX is donating stock of SpaceX into these accounts. Dell is putting over $5 billion into these accounts in impoverished zip codes. And many, many, many more corporations and wealthy are sharing by donating money to these to help lift up the impoverished, lift up those people who are born into a situation that sometimes could be difficult getting out of. There's so much good going on, but the sad part of it is that it doesn't include the faithful, those who want to invest with biblical integrity, those who want to participate in such a great program, but won't because they are stewards of God's money, and they believe that if they invest in something like abortion or pornography or gambling or addictive products or anything sexual immoral that promotes or causes people to fall into sexual immorality, that they are not utilizing God's money properly. Unfortunately, the only investment vehicle at this time is an S&P 500 index fund that they're going to allow it to be in. In the future, they're going to allow more, but at this time, they're only allowing that a single fund, an ETF, to put that money in for those children. And on average, 70% of the investments in that ETF is in abortion, pornography, anti-family, anti-God, sexual immorality, and worse. So it makes it very hard for those who love the Lord to invest with biblical integrity and participate in this. Effectively, what they've done is they created a secular investment platform that our tax dollars is going into for everybody. As you can see on the screen here, if you're watching on TV, I've screened not only the investment that it can go into now, but the ones they're projecting it can go into later. And all that red on those, under those columns, are things that offend God.
It's filthy.
And abortion is the largest area on there. So yeah, it's filthy, absolutely filthy. Now we have a petition. It's the Trump Accounts for Kids petition. We are getting it out to every senator, every representative. We're sending it to their office. We're looking for ends to be able to hand deliver it. I'm talking with many people trying to elbow my way to get it to somebody of influence to get to see it, because I believe this administration, if they realize this, if they realize they were excluding biblically responsible Christians, stewards of God, they would make a change to it and allow us to have something in there like a Timothy plan, a ETF, a broad market Timothy plan ETF, or something that is biblically responsible. I really would appreciate anybody and everyone who is listening or hears this to call their congressman, call their senator, go out to the White House, whitehouse.gov, and leave an email for our president respectfully, letting them know we love what he's doing, and we wish we could participate, but we can't because our faith will not allow us to invest in, and as such participate in the sins of these corporations. Everybody, the more that does that, the sooner we'll get in there, and the sooner this will become available, not only to the secularists, but also to the faithful.
Amen. Mark, I just put in our chat, hopefully folks in the chat can see that, but I'm going to say it for our radio audience too. The White House number that you can call in, I don't know if you'll get through to anybody, but it's worth a call and leaving a message, is 202-456-1414. Again, 202-456-1414. That might be a place to start. Mark, I would just add to what you said also, now is the time for the FISM audience to pray fervently, to pray hard that Amen. God would get this petition in front of the right eyes. God is sovereign over all things, Mark. And so we believe that nothing happens by accident, which means that whoever sees this petition, God is sovereignly orchestrating events to put that in front of the right people's eyes. So pray that he would do that. Absolutely.
Right. And we may be a remnant, listeners, you and I, watchers and partners, we may be a remnant, but look what Jesus has always done with little. From a couple fish and loaves of bread to feeding thousands to Gideon. There's so many times in God's word we see where he uses the remnant, the scraps to impact this world for his Father, for the glory of God. And so as a remnant, we can come together. We can make that phone call. We can send that email to the White House, and if enough people do it, we'll get their attention. And I'm getting on as many interviews as I can to talk about this. And so far it's been like maybe 4 interviews so far. We talk about it at all the conventions when we go to there. We're spreading the news, and I'm a little impatient, so pray for me too. I want to see it happen quickly. I believe that this is the window now, though. This is the window now.
Absolutely.
So please take action. Take that step in faith and contact the government officials and let them know, hey, we need to get this done.
Hey, Mark, I'll go ahead and mention this too for our audience who watches on Dove Television or listens on Dove Radio. You've got an interview coming up with Perry Atkinson that's going to air probably sometime in the next several days, and I think this is one of the topics you guys are going to talk about. So for our Dove audience, be on the lookout for that interview. That's going to be coming soon on Perry's show, actually, which would be cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good show too. Yeah, I'm honored to be able to get with him on this.
Yeah, good. 610-363-1110. Folks, listen, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call. Why don't you? Mark, real quickly here, we can mention the markets on this side of the break. We might have to save till the other side to talk about the implications of it. But Tuesday, the indices opened up the day mixed, but they came down by midday and kind of moderately down, with the exception that the NASDAQ was down pretty good. Investors seem to be pulling out of tech stocks. And then this morning, of course, Mark, the markets are down slightly. Should we save the reason why for on the other side of the break? It's a little cliffhanger.
Yeah, let's do that. And Justin, I didn't call you a scrap. You're one of the remnant.
There you go. There you go.
And we'll be back 610-363-1110 when we come back. We will pick up where we left off. We'll be answering your questions. The phones are open, and we'd love to hear from you. 610-363-1110.
610-363-1110. Folks, give us a call. Steve, we'll get right to you in just a moment, brother. Before we get to that, Mark, we need to let our listeners off the hook here. We've left them on a cliffhanger. Why the markets are down this morning, Mark? Why are they down? It's a surprise. It's such a shock. It's unbelievable. Mark, what's going on? Why are they down this morning?
What could possibly move the markets?
Yeah, right, exactly.
But anything and everything, especially when people get weary. And I think people are war weary with this wonderful on again, off again peace deal or memorandum of understanding or whatever you want to call it. People are just tired of it. They're weary of it. We're weary of politics. We're weary of things going down. But here's the deal. God will refresh us. So take a breath, look at the markets and look at it the way Seth and I do and say, is this a buy day?
Yeah, that's right. Discount day, blue light special day.
Yeah. Are we going to see some really good pullbacks today that we can get into some of those? Maybe some of those that have been on the hold list for so long because they're overvalued will start turning into buys this week. There's a lot of good things that could come out of it. So be looking at it, take the positive aspect, focus on those things that are good, of good report, that are righteous, and we'll keep moving forward. I wouldn't really worry about it. The markets are always going to correct. I mean, after all these years of being on Wall Street, on managing money, on advising individuals, financially advising individuals, it's like I'm still amazed that people are surprised when the markets pull back or dip or crash or run up. It's what the markets do. It's like don't chastise a pig for being a pig. Don't chastise a giraffe for being a giraffe. They do what they do because of who they are. This is the markets. It goes up and down. And if it didn't, you'd be bored with it and you'd move on to something else and you wouldn't invest in it. That's what makes them fun and exciting. And over the long run, we've always seen, it doesn't mean it always will, because we know at some time all reality is going to change when Christ returns. But until then, over the long term, the markets have always ended up higher and higher and higher. That's not just in the United States. It's everywhere that has a society that can have a market that can be sustained over any good time. And I say that because there's a lot of countries that don't last very long because they're not really countries. They're just one or two people who take over some land and call it a country as they oppress the people in it to make them rich. But we won't go there. Even so, there's so many good things to talk about. In fact, I'd like to do that. Let's switch gears here. Let's talk about something cool like Winning Wednesday, huh?
Yeah, that's a great idea, Mark. Yeah, so this week's Winning Wednesday, many of our listeners will be familiar with this. Perhaps you saw the movie, but Young Washington enjoyed tremendous opening box office success this past weekend. Of course, it was the weekend of America's 250th birthday. Our friends in the media space over at Angel Studios released their highly anticipated summer blockbuster, Young Washington, in theaters. Great success. The film grossed, I'm seeing, over $20 million during 4th of July weekend. It surpassed industry expectations. Those expectations were around 15 million, Mark, so it far superseded those, actually. It was on the day of July 4th, Saturday. The film came in second place for earnings at $7.6 million. It beat out Disney Pixar's hit Toy Story 5. Fell just behind the new Minions movie that came out, but really did a great job. The story, Mark, and I know you saw the movie, Mark, so you'll be able to speak to this better than I can. I still need to go and see it. But it tells the origin story of America's greatest hero, founding President George Washington. Highlights his many struggles, his faith, the foundations of the man who would eventually lead the United States to freedom. I saw this, Mark. It was really cool. Superstar Hollywood actor Chris Pratt, who is also a professing Christian, gave a glowing endorsement of the film. He said, quote, "Get off your, quote, rear end and run to the movie theater. I've just seen young Washington. It's like The Revenant. It's like Pride and Prejudice. It's like Braveheart." It's pretty cool coming from someone of his caliber and his fame as well.
Yeah,
Mark, it's interesting because in biblically responsible investing, we have to keep a wary eye on the entertainment industry. The entertainment industry, as of late, seems to be one of those cesspools of nonsense where we try to screen out. Yeah, not just of late, right? It's been that way for a long time. Anti-family, anti-God entertainment. The industry's glutted with this stuff. How encouraged are you, Mark, to see movies like this where wholesome heroes, historical heroes, are celebrated in what I think is really a God-honoring way? They're not pushing an agenda. It didn't seem to me that there was any kind of sexual scenes in it, unnecessary stuff like that. What do you think about that, Mark?
Yeah, I have to say I'm very impressed with the movie. Let's go there first.
Yeah,
the way it was filmed, the way it was directed, everything about it. I love going to the movies. My son and I go to the movies a lot, and he could be one of the best movie critics. He's deep into the movies. He gets into them when they deserve getting into them, and he just calls out all the weaknesses when, this movie was good. This movie was made well. And you know what? One of the problems my son David and I have when we go to the movies is so many of the movies today, along with all the unnecessary language and sexual scenes and stuff like that are in them, is that they always are lecturing you about DEI, being white. It's a nonstop left-wing lecture on to conservatives all the time. And sometimes Christian films are just the opposite. They're a lecture too, but in an opposite direction. And some people say that's okay because they want to get the message out. But sometimes it just takes away from the movie. It feels forced in there, just like the DEI, ESG, and all the left-wing lectures that you get in movies today. Sometimes it feels like it takes away from the movie when Christians do the same thing. This movie didn't do that. This movie didn't make it into, this is just a carrying agent for the gospel and we're going to try and slip it in there. This was a movie about a great man done in a great way. And it showed him as a human. It showed his mistakes. It showed his pride and his drive. It showed it all. And I really enjoyed the movie. And I actually wish they had put a little more about God in it, actually, because having read a fair amount about George Washington and studied a bit about him, he was much more of a believer than this movie drew out of it. But at the same time, maybe this is a way to introduce people to God by not overdoing it.
You know what is really cool, Mark? I also saw that there are already talks of a sequel. And so with the success of this movie, the chances of a sequel are that much better. And just maybe that could make it into the sequel, Yeah,
here's the bottom line. There's so many bad movies out there, ugly movies, movies that try to normalize the ugliness of this world, of the dark side, and so few really good movies out there that want to lift up righteousness and doing it right and doing it proper and being honoring and respectful and all the wonderful things that are reflected in God's character. This is one of those movies that does that, and it still is done with the quality of any Hollywood movie. It is incredible. This is encouraging because I think we're going to see more and more. And I think it tells Hollywood, you want to go where the money is. The money is uplifting people, not lecturing them and trying to make them feel bad because they don't buy into your failed, ugly, decaying ideology.
Well said, brother. Soapbox. Love that. Very cool. So hopefully, folks, if you haven't had a chance to go see it, hopefully you can do that for sure. 610-363-1110. Mark, why don't we go to the phones and talk to Steve calling from
Let's
Iowa.
do that. Welcome, Steve. Glad you're with us today. What's on your heart?
A question for you on a minority limited partnership in an apartment complex that's going in. Now, some of these are available to accredited investors, of which I am distinctly not, but some are available to regular folks like me. What do you think about investing in one of those versus just buying REITs on the stock market?
Okay, that's a good question and a good comparison. I like both aspects of it. First, let's talk about investing in individual projects like an apartment complex going in. As a minority investor in those kind of things, my experience has been over many, many years that it's a 50-50 possibility. Oftentimes, developers, I'm trying to think the kindest way to say this. Even though their heart may be to make sure everybody makes money, their first focus is to make sure they make money. And as such, those contracts generally that I've seen put you in a place to where it could be very painful to you if it doesn't go right, if everything doesn't go right. They have the right to take so much. Here's my guidance on this. If you're going to go into individual real estate, you should know individual real estate and you should know law, or you should have an attorney and go over the contracts very, very scrutinize them. I once had a client who got into one, and after 3 years of it never getting done, the project never, it got off. They broke ground, they got foundations, but never went anywhere. They needed to raise more money, and in the contract it said they could ask the partners for that money, not just ask them, but demand it. That they were on the line for any future monies to get the development completed because of overruns and stuff. So effectively, they had bought into something that they put in some money and they thought that was it. And now they had to go back and put in more money or they would be breaking their contract and they couldn't get out of it. So that was the worst I've ever seen. And that was a very, very, very small one. But the people who normally are running those are very savvy. And hopefully if they do have ethics, they will protect you. But there's a lot of risk, and you need to be very careful. Scrutiny has to be the highest on those. Going into REIT makes a little more sense because it's publicly traded. You can get in and out of it. Again, you want to look at how the REIT is structured. We have several REITs in the partner hub under the broad list that are available that we looked at. And we said, you know what? These are fairly ran. They have decent dividends. They may be worthwhile to be in. So I prefer, especially for people who do not have money to lose, meaning if you lost this money, it wouldn't affect your life in any way. If you don't have money to lose and you want to get into real estate, that a publicly traded REIT would be the first step. And or if you're handy and you believe you can do it yourself, maybe start buying a single family or a duplex or something yourself that you can take care of. But again, get a good real estate attorney to help draw up all the contracts to protect yourself. Did that help, Steve? I hope so. I think we lost Steve now, but thank you for your call on that. Always a good question, and it's always good to dig deep. That's the way stewards do it, is that you protect yourself by not just going to the surface or the promises.
Boy, it is so great to be here with you all today, folks. We're happy to have you. Join the live broadcast. You can call us at 610-363-1110. Phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. Today's show, of course, brought to you in part by our friends at Crossroads Kids Club. We're so grateful for Crossroads, the work they do to bring the gospel to children in public schools. They're in their gear up season for the next school year, so pray for them as they gear up. They are growing, and it's wonderful to be a part of it. ReachOurSchools.com is where you learn more about Crossroads, ReachOurSchools.com. Hey, Mark, I want to ask a follow-up question from that last segment there. Steve brought up a great question about REITs and if that's a good option for someone who might be interested in the real estate space. And that's kind of my question for you, Mark. You know, for a lot of folks, and maybe even young folks like myself, we look at kind of maybe the dream of investing in real estate and seeing the potential to be able to make money for it. And then sometimes we forget that there's actually a lot of nightmares with it as well, like your tenants calling at 2 a.m. saying, hey, the toilet's backed up. You need to fix this. Or a tenant just leaving, and then you have to carry the place without the rent coming in to help pay for it.
Or worse yet, a tenant not leaving.
A tenant not leaving. Yeah,
and
exactly.
Not paying.
And certain states can get real hairy with squatter rights.
Exactly.
Mark, my question for you is for someone who might not be as certain of their ability to fix things or their ability to carry a place if they don't have the rental income or even just to deal with that stuff, should they choose investing in REITs instead as a way to kind of have that exposure to the real estate space?
Yeah, the less hands-on you are, the less opportunity for profitability there is.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's more hands in it. For example, if you buy a house and you rent it out and you maintain it, all the money comes to you. Obviously, some of that money goes to the repairs and the upkeep and the insurances that you should have to protect yourself in those situations. But then let's say that, you know, you're getting older and you really don't have the get up and go you used to have, so you hire somebody to do all the maintenance and all that kind of stuff. Well, now you've cut a little bit more out of that. And then maybe you decide, you know what, I'm just going to turn over this real estate to another company, contract with them to get the renters, to do the maintenance, to do everything that's necessary. Well, now you've got another more hands in the bucket of the revenues and less coming to you. And then obviously if you go to a REIT or something like that, you then have a level of partnerships and developers and all sorts of stuff in there. And that's why you end up with, you know, a dividend instead of the lion's share of it. So the further you get away from the hands-on, the less you make, but the less you have to do as well for that money. So there's always a give and take in it. And there is a lot of positive in real estate. I think it is a good area. You know, I've heard all my life, they're not making any more, you know, invest in dirt. They're not making any more of it, you know. Yeah. And that real estate people always believe that you know, a real estate is it will always go up. Now, that hasn't always been true, but it does seem like over the long run, the price of real estate goes up, not just with inflation, but because of increasing population and less world and more people. So it could be a good investment arena. It could be good lifelong job for yourself if you wanted to get yourself out of a 9-to-5 and get yourself into a 5 to midnight, you know, 5 a.m. to midnight job. You could get real estate, flip it, turn it, rent it. But I've known people to get very rich off of real estate, and I've known people to lose their savings and everything in it as well. You just have to be careful, step by step. Do it as a steward. Do it as a calling. If you see the opportunity and you have the skills, and go for it. The skills you don't have, if you don't have the money to hire the right people with those skills, like attorneys or rental agents or whatever, be very careful.
Absolutely. Good stuff, Mark. 610-363-1110. Folks, we would love to hear from you. Mark, speaking of which, why don't we go down to Florida and talk to Jim calling in this morning?
Well, I'd like to go to Florida. I got to spend a little time last night with my friend Art Alley. We went out to dinner, him and his wife and me and Cindy, and it was a wonderful time. And he asked me when I'm coming down to Florida, and it's like, I want to be there so bad, you know.
Mark, I just can only imagine the wisecracks at that table. I can only imagine the jokes.
You know, I am so blessed that God allowed me to my path to cross with so many people's paths that I admire so much. Art is one of those. For those who don't know, Art Alley is the founder of the Timothy Plan Mutual Funds. Yeah. And he invited me to be on the board of directors real early, and I really appreciate that because of my love for Christ, he said, and because of my commitment to investing with biblical integrity. He was one of the pioneers. I think most of the BRI movement is built upon his shoulders. Yeah. Anyway, let's get to Jim while we still have time. Jim, welcome to Financial Issues.
Well, thank you. And if you're coming to Florida, you better bring some sunscreen.
I don't know. I did text Art a week ago with the temperatures here in St. Louis, and they were higher than they were in Orlando. So who would have thought, right?
Well, I guess that's a possibility, yeah. I've got a kind of a basic question. I don't know. It used to be called the Rule of 100, I think, where you would subtract your age from 100, and what was left over would be the approximate percentage that you'd want to have of your investable income to put in the stock market. Would that still hold?
Well, the first question is, did it ever hold?
Well, I guess that would be.
Yeah. I love the idea of simplicity, and yet what I have found in life is usually simplicity just means you understand it better, not that it is really simple. A rule like that, can it work? It can. It can work, but it's not right. I mean, somebody 50, should they only have 50% stock in their portfolio if they're not going to retire for 15, 20 years? I don't think so. So it really comes down to what I call uniqueness planning. At one time, I think I might even trademark that, but it's called uniqueness planning instead of financial planning, where God created you and I all different, everybody different, uniquely for his mission for us and for the great works he laid for us to walk in before he laid the foundations of the earth. So if we were created uniquely, probably our investment portfolio should be as unique as the journey he has us on. And based on that, the uniqueness of your life would help determine where you should be as far as taking the risk of the market into your portfolio with God's money. So you start with, where does God have you? What's unique about your life? How should you invest to honor God? Obviously, biblically responsible, but otherwise too, on how much risk should be taken when in your life. That's really important. I don't have a problem with people following that kind of thing. I don't have a problem with rules of thumbs. Oh, yes, I do, because usually the rules of thumbs are just simplicity answers for broadcasts and things like that. That's why financial planning, that's why investment managers are still making money, is because if everything was simple, everybody would be billionaires. Money isn't simple. It can be complicated, especially when we realize how unique we are to God and how wonderfully made we are and how he wants us to move forward in our own way. So again, we have our own sleep factor, which is our risk factor. We have our own direction, our path that God has us on. And sometimes that path means you wouldn't even be in the stock market. You might be a missionary traveling the world. Why would and not even have monies to eat, much less to invest in the market. So you probably wouldn't be risking it there. Or you might just be somebody that God has given you the gift of giving. I've known several people who have given everything they own away continuously just to care for other people. And they were joyous in life just as well as somebody who had a full retirement and living a good middle class or upper middle class life. So it's very important to realize rules of thumbs are for are simple and are for simple people who just who can't or don't want to put the effort into it. You are special, Jim. God has a path specifically for you. Know who you are and know it's God's money, and together you and God can determine the amount of risk that you should be taking, because you'll find peace in the portfolio that fits your path. I hope that helps, Jim.
Well, yeah, like I said, I was just, checking to see if that rule of thumb still held. And really, I was thinking because people now are living longer. So I didn't know if maybe you should be subtracting your age from 110 or 150. So that was just my question.
Because here's another aspect of that, Jim. If you don't need the money to retire on, there's a good argument to be made for many people to have it in stock, because when you pass it on, it'll be in a step-up basis to those you pass it on to. So instead of just earning 2 to 4% in income-related items and passing it on, you could leave a fortune to somebody because it has grown, even if it's gone up and down, because it has grown. And now they'll owe no long-term capital gains on it when they receive it, because it could pass as a step-up basis. Really good questions, Jim, and really good thoughts. I'm not dissing rule of thumbs. I'm not dissing the idea of what you're talking about. Sometimes simplicity just can be too simple. 610-363-1110.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Hey, folks, did want to mention something it just came to mind. I'm glad that we're talking about it now, Mark. We have a conference call tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Yes,
Make sure you mark your calendars for it. It's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern time. So that's, again, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific time. To make sure, folks, that you join us for that. These conference calls are a wonderful partner benefit. We want to make sure that you all have access to them. Of course, some people aren't able to make it, which is understandable. So we post the conference call after the fact on the conference call page. So if you can't make it, make sure that you listen to it as soon as you can. But we hope everybody, every single partner out there can listen to this conference call. And if you're not a partner, now's the day to become one. You can become a partner today or even tomorrow. As long as it's before 3 p.m. Eastern time, you can join tomorrow's conference call. So make sure that you do that, folks. The login information for it, this is partner specific, only partners know it, has been sent out to all partners. It's also on the alerts page. So make sure that you go there and you keep that log information handy so that you're ready at 3 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow for the conference call. Mark, I'm excited for it. It's going to be a good one, as always.
Well, I hope so. I hope that we can give you some insights that'll help you manage God's money better and help you to move forward in that path that He's put you on.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, Mark, so at the top of the show, I teased to our audience that we were going to talk about PE ratios, and we're finally in the last segment getting to the question that I had in mind. So Chris is 56, and he's saying, can you explain or help me understand the PE ratio on a specific stock? Mark, I'll let you talk about that stock if you want to. He says, my Schwab account shows a PE ratio of negative 199, and I'm wondering, is that good? And Mark, I think this brings up a good topic here of what is a healthy PE ratio? So why don't you go ahead and address Chris's question, and we can talk about those other questions with it.
Okay. Hey, Chris, a negative PE. A negative PE is a really weird little beast, and it really causes people to think, is it good? No, it's normally not good, but it doesn't mean the stock is bad. Remember, we got to take two different things, the stock price and then the company. Sometimes a strong company with revenues and stuff can have a negative PE because of accounting situation. The generally accepted accounting procedures will force a company to do something like put in a paper loss or a paper gain due to changes in things. In this case, in this stock, I think what we're looking at is a GAAP accounting type of thing where this company has had some strong numbers, but they had to file properly, or the numbers that the platform is using that gives you a negative PE had to show in there that are decided to show in there these write-offs or these negative numbers that bring down the profits on paper. So effectively, in this case, I think this was due to some convertible debt that they have, meaning that it's debt they issued that can convert to stock, and based on the changing in the price of the stock, it can change the value of those derivatives of that convertible note. We're getting in the weeds here, and that can cause a GAAP accounting loss, which could cause the earnings to be less. The PE to be negative, which then makes that PE useless. A negative PE is useless, and you have to dig deeper at other things. So effectively, what we're talking about here is when you see a negative PE, let it be just a warning sign that there's an accounting situation. Now, those accounting situations could be important in the future as well, but you need to look into them to make sure they're not going to destroy the company or turn into real losses or actual having to write checks and take away the cash. I guess with that said, it'd be important to talk a little bit about the PE ratio.
Yeah, Mark, what is a healthy PE ratio then?
What is a healthy PE ratio? There's that's all relative to the individual stock. First of all, PE ratio is the price of the stock. The stock is short for stock certificate. It means the individual shares you own, the price of the shares you own of stock, to the equity that the company has created. So you divide the price by the equity per share, and that gives you the PE ratio. If it's positive, that means there's equity in the company, and it pretty much tells you what you're paying for the equity by the price of it. So the price of each share at any given moment by the equity that the company is reported in their finances. So it's a very simple calculation. A lot of people use it to say, is this company worth investing in? If the PE is real high, they get worried that they may be paying too much for the stock. If the PE is really low, they have to worry that maybe this stock has issues and nobody's going after the stock. So one thing to do is look at PE ratios comparatively to the stock itself. The industry, what's the industry average PE compared to the stock's PE? What is its competition's PE compared to this PE, to the stock's PE? And when you look at that, you kind of get a feel for where it really should be. And then you can take the PE and say, okay, based on that, what other things are happening? How much has this PE changed? Has it grown substantially, which means either the price has grown substantially or the equity has come down, or has it shrunk, which means the price, you can just take a look at it and get a feeling for it for the industry is the bottom line. So the PE is just another indicator you look at. It's usually one of the first ones most people look at. And, one of the things I used to do all the time is just say, well, what's the average of the whole U.S. stock market, the PE? Is it 8? Is it 10? Is it 13? What's it been for the average over the last 10 years? And then compare a stock to it, no matter what industry. And you can say, this stock's really expensive PE-wise to the average of the market. But then when I look at to the average of the industry, like if you look at the PEs in technology or AI or other things like that, the PEs could be very high and be average for the industry. So you have to compare everything together. And then even when you compare it together, you need to look at so many things. It's just another indicator, Chris.
Great stuff. Chris, thanks for that question. It's a good one. Mark, here's another good one we got in our chat yesterday. James from South Carolina is asking, reportedly, foreigners are holding less and less of our treasuries. Who exactly is buying them? Now, Mark, have you heard that report as well?
Well, yeah, probably about every other year or, it depends on who's in office and then how can you say something that makes it sound bad for the administration or makes it sound good for the administration. But yeah, that's a common thing to hear. The reality is, I think that what James is saying is percentage-wise, foreigners are owning less. Obviously, China has a few times under Trump dumped treasuries pretty quickly, trying to make a statement. Other countries have too. I'm not dismissing that there's good reasons. There could be good reasons to do that at times, no matter what the administration, if our debt keeps growing. One of the things to look at here is it's, again, relative to the total debt. I don't think that other countries are holding less debt than they used to, just as a percentage of the overall debt of the United States, which is a big blaring red siren light going off about the U.S. debt. We still have to get under control. It seems to be one of the last things that this administration is working on, although I believe they had to get all these other things done so they could work on that. I will be surprised if by the end of this year we don't see a indication of decreasing debt in the United States. So who's buying the debt? Well, you could say banks, money markets, U.S. banks, money markets, individuals. But primarily in the past, it has been the Fed. The Fed had during the Biden years was buying the debt. Effectively, they were creating money out of nothing, is what was happening. And now that the Fed is trying to decrease its balance sheet, they won't be holding as much. And that's why I believe that maybe our debt is on the cusp of turning around and pulling back some, that this administration hopefully realizes that debt could be the number one issue for our country, the number one thing that could throw us over the cliff. And you've heard me talk about that before. At the beginning of the year, at the end of last year, Congress has to get their act together, get their work done, balance the budgets, reduce our debt so that we can remain strong, so our dollar remains strong in the world, so that we remain a leader, so that we can continue to spread not just freedom, but freedom to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, because there's nothing more important. And without the United States, we're the last bastion. We're the last place in the world that protects the freedom to talk freely about Jesus Christ. Without us, any of the smaller countries that embrace the same virtues will be taken over very quickly. So I really believe this is a gospel issue, just not maintain our country. We need to maintain our country for Christ, for God, for the kingdom. And that's why the enemy is so harsh against us. That's why they're trying to overtake our country. That's why they're trying to destroy our country by bringing so many people in to get on all the welfare so that we go bankrupt. That's why we need to continue to love the Lord with all our hearts and do everything possible to elect good people into our Congress, into our Senate, into our White House, to move in the right direction, reduce debt, to honor God and allow the gospel to go forward. That's why we need to continue to invest with biblical integrity, like our partners do, and like hopefully most of you listening are seeing this too. God bless you all for being with us today, and God bless you for honoring God by the way you invest with biblical integrity.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.